So my phone ended up overheating last time I was making a video. So I called it a part one because I I wasn't gonna attach a part two to it. So I figured, maybe leave a little cliffhanger and then get back to it later. But the point that I was trying to make is that Christianity, um, black male Christians don't really get any pushback. And overall, I'm trying to make a point that it's because there's no salvation in um, in a current there's no current prosperity in being a black male Christian. You have to basically wait till you die for your heaven to occur. So that's why society is not going to push back on it because you you've been essentially in a sense you've been you're docile. You're waiting. You're not an active threat. You're not competitive. You know you're gonna be passive, and you're gonna let everybody else dominate. You're gonna turn the other cheek. So why would society see you as something to be a threat when you're waiting to die to receive a reward for your passivity? And that has been my observation throughout the years. Like there's very little things that a black male gets pushback will not receive pushback on, and Christianity is one of them. And I've always thought that was interesting. And I've always thought that was offensive to try to pigeonhole me into a Christian lifestyle. And I'm not saying I'm out here, you know, worshiping the devil or anything like that. I try to be a stand-up guy. I try to do the right things, but I will not. I don't think I will ever find myself pushing Bible thumping um, for that reason, because if I start doing that, that's kind of like laying down and giving up, you know. So I'll go to church. I'll go to Easter Sunday. I'll have faith. I'll have I'll have spirituality to a certain extent. I respect that, but I do not respect thumping to the point where I'm turning the other cheek and not being competitive in this world. That's not gonna happen. And with that said, like that's also what I'm trying to get at with the Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't. A big problem with Jehovah's Witnesses is the fact that if you're a black man, um, a big problem is black men need to, black men globally have some kind of deficiency with. This is my observation. They have some kind of deficiency with uh, self-esteem. There seems to be a self-esteem issue overall. Obviously, there's a spectrum, but there's an overall self-esteem issue that kind of haunts black men. And the reason why Jehovah's Witnesses is detrimental to that problem is because you can't go around telling somebody that they're nothing for their whole life and that they are nothing without Jehovah. There's no building, there's no character building, there's no self um, self-esteem building, self-reliability building, and that's a big problem. If you're doing that, if you're raising black men like that, and their self worth is based on a cult, a doomsday cult, that becomes a big problem if they end up getting shunned or fall out of it. You know, my one of my brothers, I mean, a couple of my brothers, they have very very severe substance abuse problems, and it to me it's not looking good. Um, it's not looking good if they don't go and get some help, and that has to be their decision, you know. But I just feel like the lack of self esteem building that they experience throughout their life, basically growing up until they're in their late 30s in that cult, and still side with the cult too in many ways, even though they're not active. I feel like that has been a big contributing factor to their self-esteem, and a contributing factor to their substance abuse. And I don't know what's gonna I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. You know, it just seems like that is the course that the organization has set for them, and they have made it. They have made themselves the only way for them to get out of it. You know, so what's gonna happen is I don't know. But that's kind of my the point that I was trying to make on my first video, that that my phone got overheated during that time. But other than that, uh, happy Father's Day. I hope you guys have a good day, all the fathers, and hopefully I made enough sense. If I get comments, I'll try to elaborate. I'll make another video. This seems like this was a pretty quick video too. All my videos have been pretty quick, but yeah. Let me jump on it one more time. There seems to be an overall self-esteem issue with black people, black men too included, and there's a lot of behaviors kind of you can observe. It's contributed to some level of self-worth, and Jehovah's organization does not does not help that at all, especially if you lose your title, you know, if you lose your position in that organization, it doesn't work out. It doesn't. You're not a whole person coming out of that cult. They're not a whole person, you know. And it takes years. It takes a lot of energy. And see, I was lucky because I never bought into the teachings, you know. But my brothers did, so they are not as lucky as me. I never bought into the teachings. Um, but it was still hard for me too, because I still behaved. I was still very judgmental. You know, I still thought I was, you know, better than other people just because I was, you know, around that cult for so long. There was a part of me that thought I was special. You know, I mean, I believe I'm special, but there's a part of me that was super like self-centered. You know, and it was not, and it was. I believe it was because I was around that cult that I kind of adopted that mentality that I was, you know, uh, hey, I know something that you don't know, or I'm like, you know, it's kind of like that. But even though I didn't believe in it, it still kind of, I still kind of absorbed a lot of that mindset, you know, which was kind of weird. But it's been, um, I've battled and fought my way to not thinking like that in many ways. So hopefully that makes sense But like I said, it's not easy, and the religion does leave you kind of abandoned in many ways, especially if you've never had any mentorship or self, self self reliability training, or you know tough love, like just what men need. A man doesn't need to be told he's not accountable. A man needs to be taught accountability at all costs. Women too, but women can kind of sometimes, you know, get away with not having to do that. But a man can't do that. A man. Nobody's gonna think you're pretty and want to pay your way as a man. That's highly unlikely. But you guys have a good day. Take care, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.